Are you making more than twice than what you made with your last job?
Oh yeah,
More than three times?
yeah. Okay, I'm probably making around.
I've teamed up with MetaPurse and Naz Academy to bring you Crypto for Photographers, a series where I educate you photographers about crypto and how it's taking on the establishment and bringing power back to the people. That's because we want you to make money with crypto and NFTs. Is it too late to get involved? Absolutely not. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be having a little chat, a little sit-down chat with a very special guest from the crypto space. He is a full-time crypto investor, trader. Basically, he makes a full-time income from crypto alone. And I thought he was the best person who I know to help you guys sort of get more familiarized and get comfortable with this whole crypto space. Because as I said before, this whole series is about informing you photographers about this massive opportunity that we photographers have to make money, to create a living for ourselves with not only just crypto, but NFTs. Get a cup of coffee, it's a long one. Sit down, enjoy, put it on in the background and enjoy it.
All right, cool. Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Crypto for Photographers. And today we'll be answering your questions. And today we have a very special guest. We have...
Hi, I'm Zain. I'm Zain's brother.
Yes, this is my brother. Woo! Comment down below who you think is older. So the reason why I brought my brother on today is because he's making his full-time income with crypto. Yes, it is possible to do that today. You know, who better to have on the channel than someone who's actually involved on a daily basis, making a full-time income. How did you, what were you doing before crypto? What got you into crypto? You know, how long you've been in it, and long and short of it, are you even doing well with it? So over to you.
All right. For a start, I do not have any form of knowledge of programming, blockchains, or anything. Like, I did not come from that background. I came from hospitality background, hotel management. So it was completely unexpected of me to kind of go down this path, especially as a career, because this is something that I didn't imagine that I could do, let alone do well enough to kind of sustain myself. I first heard about it in early 2019, and actually I heard it from our other brother that was doing it at the time. And cryptocurrencies and blockchain, it's quite a hard concept to grasp, especially when it's a non-tangible concept. So I think that for me was kind of the hardest thing to get around. I mean, obviously what most people think is that it's a scam, which I also thought at first. So kind of I didn't really look into it. I kind of saw the potential and what benefits it was doing with our other brother, that it kind of got me into it.
So in what way have you got into it? Were you trading? Were you investing were you investing small amounts? Like what sense were you?
I was investing small amounts into alternative coins, some into Bitcoin, some into Ethereum, but I really did not have any knowledge. I was going off the basis of off recommendations and completely trusting our other brother. And it got to a point where I basically decided to quit my full-time job, because it got to a point where whatever I was making in crypto was basically matching my salary. So that's when it was kind of a turning point for me, saying, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. Let's look into it further.
Like, so our other brother, our older brother, he's making, I don't know, long and short of it, he's doing very, very well.
Yeah, I followed in the same way, where he was doing a full-time job doing crypto on the side. He found some success in it, and basically he took the plunge. And in the same way that I did it, where I've kind of looked at his example, and I thought, okay, if this is the path that he went down, maybe I can do the same. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So essentially the point I'm trying to make is that you were a complete newbie. You had no idea. You followed someone.
No experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing at all. Yeah.
So you followed the advice of someone you could trust, someone who was involved in it, and then from there, you got involved in the community. You did, you just researched it. You learned it all by yourself.
Just became a lot more proactive about it.
Yeah. The long and short of it is that it's not anyone can get involved. That's the point of it. And obviously it helps having someone you can trust. But at the end of the day, anyone can get involved. If you're willing to.
I mean, there's so much information. There's a wealth of information on the internet. It's like the internet is a powerful tool. It's just
so you're basically self-taught as well. YouTube.
YouTube, Reddit, Telegram, and Clubhouse.
So just basically getting involved in the community, getting involved and then by obviously once you learn and understood the things that you need to do,
and then as it goes on, then you kind of figure out what are your interests within the space, within the crypto space, within the blockchain space.
So there's the intro. Basically, you went from noob to making this your full-time gig, just through trusting someone who's already in the space, learning from everyone around you, getting involved in the community. So now that you know who he is, and then let's save it for the end. You can sort of tease how well you're doing, in terms of your portfolio. You can you don't have to give a exact number, but it'll be interesting for the audience to know how well you're doing. So if you want to find out, just wait till the end. First question is, obviously these questions were submitted by you guys in the previous video. Does getting into crypto mean that I have to be a genius in programming? And you kind of answered that before, but
what I was saying earlier, absolutely not. And I personally don't know any kind of programming, and I do this as a full-time thing. So it goes to show. I
think this question, where it comes from, is that people think that you have to be sitting there by a computer sort of analyzing code, when in reality all it is just when you buy coins, you're essentially just buying shares in a company. And it does help to understand the technology behind that.
It does for sure. But okay, it's a good analogy to think of it. It's like this. It's okay. For example, when you send a text message to somebody else, you're sending a message and pressing the button, but you don't necessarily know the protocols behind that, where it goes through, how many servers it's going through to get to the other device. But at the same time, you don't need to know that. All you care about is you're sending a message and pressing the button. That's all you need to know, and for 99% of the people, that's good enough. That's all you need.
I mean, obviously, you can learn how to program and become a developer.
Of course,
there's
majority different areas that you can contribute to the the crypto space. Whether you're a developer, whether you're the front end or the back end, whether you're part of the protocol. There's many ways that you can get involved. But obviously, the easiest way to get in is as an investor, where you just invest into something small, a small amount.
How does mining work? How do people?
Okay.
Did you hear a lot about Bitcoin mining and Ethereum mining? How does it work? Are you actually there in a coal mine? Like what does it work?
So we'll take Bitcoin as an example. So Bitcoin is based on the Lightning Network. So how it works is what we call a consensus algorithm. Basically, what miners do is that they are all working together or against each other to basically figure out processing power to see who can confirm the next block on the blockchain. So in order to confirm the block, it's just a number of very, very powerful computers all working together, working out very complex algorithms to figure out how to confirm the next block on the blockchain.
They run the same function all day, every day. So they're only doing one single function over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's just the same function over and over again. by design, proof of work is basically, it requires an incredible amount of energy input into this, incredible amount to figure out these highly complex equations, you know.
Yeah, and then if you solve it,
if you solve it, you get rewarded
with a Bitcoin.
With Bitcoin. So this is how Bitcoin is minted, or mined. Sorry.
So essentially, the easiest way to think about it, what mining is, it's a computer running a single function over and over again until it figures it out, right? Until it figures out the equation.
Figures out the equation, which then confirms one block on a blockchain.
Yeah.
99% of the people don't have to know that, for you to get involved into this space. Like,
it's
obviously it's nice to know, but you don't need to know.
It's like the same with like if you buy Tesla stock, you don't need to know how an electric battery works in order to get involved.
Exactly.
When you pay with your card at a cafe, you don't necessarily know the process that happens in order for the money that comes out of your bank account and
which goes to the retailer, which then goes to the money, which then goes to
obviously you need to have some sort of knowledge just so that you feel comfortable with it, but to get the ins and out of the actual, you don't need to be an expert in the technology. You just need to
not at all.
This one is quite funny, but I think this is a genuine concern that a lot of people have. What happens if my coin goes to zero? So if the price of the coin that you invested in, what happens if it goes to zero? I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous question, but like I'm sure that is a genuine concern for most people, because there's still that stigma. There's still a lot of people who think that this is some sort of big joke. That's like, let's say in Bitcoin, what happens if Bitcoin hits $0? Like what would happen?
Well, okay, I mean, that is a valid question, but okay, let's look at it on the other side. Okay, let's think, what would it take for Bitcoin to go to zero? What does that take? Like, how could that actually happen? So if we talk about the network effect, which basically is that the more people have it, like the more people are holding the asset, the more value it is.
So there are a lot of things that we have now that have enjoyed the network effect. So like the internet, telephones, mobile phones. So the network effect is basically this, it's a theory that the more people that have it, the more valuable it becomes. So for example, the phone, if one person had a phone, like it's pretty useless. But if two people have a phone, they can start talking to each other, and then that one phone becomes way more valuable. And now obviously everyone in the world has a phone, so now the phone has become extremely valuable because everyone has it. So the more people have it, the greater the network effect.
So it becomes exponential.
So with each additional phone, the value of of a phone becomes exponentially more valuable. And it's the same thing with Bitcoin.
Exactly. Based on the network effect, in order, let's say for Bitcoin, what if Bitcoin goes to zero? Okay, in order for Bitcoin to go to zero, that would mean the biggest digital asset class would mean that everybody would have to sell but you. Everybody would have to sell but you in order for that to go to zero. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but like we can fairly reasonably say that is something that is highly unlikely to happen unless it was some crazy black swan event that caused that to happen. But I can't see that happening.
Yeah, but then I would also argue that even if it did go to zero, because there are always going to be those people who will see a dip or a drop in price as an opportunity to buy back in. So even if it did go back to zero, I'd say that it would probably incentivize people to get back in, because there'll always be those people who see the inherent value in the thing. A situation where I would say this does apply, where a coin could go to zero, is something like a meme coin, because obviously something like a meme coin, a shit coin, a coin that gets
basically
peddled by a YouTuber. I think those ones
a coin that is easily can be influenced by someone just tweeting something,
Yeah.
or something that it basically has no use case, or
Anything that has the word
offer
safe in it,
anything.
or moon in it, or has a dog attached to it, then those ones are highly probable that they will hit zero, because those aren't because those are coins based off of nothing. Those are coins based off of just hype. Stick to real coins, not shit coins. Okay, so we have our first NFT question here. So what is an
What is
NFT?
it?
So
Okay.
an NFT. So an NFT it stands for a non-fungible token. Fungible meaning it can be copied, and it can be divisible. So a token.
So let's talk about real life fungible things. Okay, for example, fungible things. Okay, let's talk about money, where let's say I have £10 and I've given you £10. So it's £10 value, but now you give me back £10, but in two £5 notes. So basically, they're both equal to they're both worth £10, and they're both easily changeable because they're both fungible. It doesn't matter if you give me two £5 notes or one £10 note. It's the same. But something that in a physical term, which is non-fungible, you could say a house, where you could have two equally valued houses. Let's say one house was £100,000 and the other house was £100,000. They could be valued the same, but one's located in Brighton and one's located in South London. You know what I mean? So one's a little flat. Yeah, they have equal value, but they're completely different. So that is non-fungible. So now, if we talk about non-fungible in the digital space, it's the same principle, where you have intellectual rights over a digital asset, a unique digital asset.
At the moment, most people think of an NFT as like a piece of digital art, like an image, like some sort of digital painting. It could even be like a clip of a sports game. But it's not just visual art. Isn't it better to own a physical piece of art rather than a digital image on a screen? It depends which narrative you want to believe. With like a physical piece of art, you have to trust that. First, you got to believe that it is the real thing. You got to believe that the physical piece of art that's in front of you actually was made by that artist, and that you have the real thing in front of you. Whereas with a digital image, like an NFT, a digital piece of art, you know for certain that this was made by this artist, and that you own it, and that it was, you can verify its authenticity because it's verified on the blockchain. And it's just a matter of which one you find more convincing, right?
You can think of it as like NFTs is basically, it's a form of intellectual property on the internet.
Yeah.
Digital intellectual property.
Yeah. And in terms of which is better, like obviously the experience is going to be, the experience of enjoying the art is going to be, it's a completely different matter. It's a completely different conversation. There's going to be some people who enjoy a virtual experience, and there's going to be people who prefer, that physical face-to-face experience. But in terms of the whole authenticity and sort of transfer of ownership, NFTs, in my opinion, there's no competition when it comes to on that, in that respect.
Adding to that example that you just gave regarding the painting, whereas let's say you as the artist, you make a painting and you sell it on, and years down the line it becomes incredibly valuable. And you as the artist don't enjoy any of that, or don't benefit any from that
the resale price.
Yeah, exactly, the resale price, because it goes to the person that resold it. Where with NFTs, now you can create like a royalties on that.
Yeah.
So basically, when that NFT, you say, okay, with every resale, I as the artist get 10%.
Yeah. And
So
not only from a owner's, so not only from a purchasing point, so like from a purchaser, a collector's point of view, is NFTs better in that sense, but as an artist yourself, when you sell it on, it is far better because you will always get money from it regardless. You will always benefit from the resale price regardless of how many times it gets resold. Whereas with the current situation, the current setup with the traditional art, you will only see benefits from the first time it gets sold. And you could say, just try to imagine the logistics of trying to chase up that money the 5th or 6th time it gets resold. Like, one, you don't get the rights to it anymore.
Yeah.
But like, imagine trying to be like,
imagine,
but just the logistics of it. Just imagine trying to find out who has it now, trying to get them to pay you back, whereas now it's just on the blockchain. It just happens instantaneously. It's just
like a key takeaway from this is that it changes the relationship between the two parties, where previously it was a one-way street, where now you can now basically the artist and the people, the consumers that support the artist, is now a two-way relationship. Because now both parties are benefiting from this kind of like a new structure which NFT has in place.
Are there any other applications for NFTs other than digital art? And yes, there are. Like I saw something about Cardano trying to address. So Cardano is one of it's top 3 at the moment projects.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they're trying to do in Africa is provide identification ID cards with NFTs. Because if you think about it, what are the sort of problems that you find with ID passports? It's fraudulent ID, fraudulent passports. So with NFTs, you can verify the identification of someone. You can verify that this passport is genuine. Also on top of that, education. You can create an NFT out of a university degree certificate. You can create, so you can see how identifying the authenticity of something can be applied to anything. Driver's licenses, any sort of document,
any legal documentation,
tickets. I saw it like imagine if they use this technology in at tickets, for like movie tickets, football, massive sporting events. Like just imagine like the World Cup. I'm sure sporting events, like they had to deal with and big music concerts, they have to deal with counterfeited tickets.
It's like it's like when you go to a game or to a concert, you will always get people outside the stadium or the concert trying to sell you tickets. And
ticket touches.
Exactly. So imagine being in that situation, and you're putting your trust in this person that this ticket is a legitimate ticket.
So if you're like
that's basically what you're doing.
If you're a record label company and your recording artist is losing millions upon millions every concert because of fake tickets being sold, you're going to think to yourself as a company like, holy shit, I want to get involved in that. Now I have a way of saving myself tens of millions a year, because now I have a technology that will eliminate this problem. And then that's the thing with the network effect, right? The more people who get involved, the more powerful, the more exponentially useful that technology becomes. This is more incentive to get involved in an NFT, because once other people get involved, then the first NFT that you got involved in becomes more valuable, because people then see absolutely more value in it because they see it being used elsewhere.
I think it's like we're still very early on into the developments of what real world use cases, and it's where we are slowly developing and evolving to get to a point, and it's to a point where I think in 5 to 10 years time, I think the terminology, even the word NFT, I think we're going to use a completely different word, because
NFT it doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? There definitely needs to be a new word for it. There'll be
a new terminology, but
at least for now, the way to think about NFTs is like, I mean, the way that sort of the tried and tested application for NFTs at the moment is sort of digital art, digital music. Artists can make a living from it and sort of have full control over it. And then as a seller, you don't have to worry about it, whether or not your artwork is a fake or not, because throughout history, even in recent history, if you look at there's a Netflix documentary, I can't remember the name of it, I'll just throw it up here, and in this documentary, this gallery got shut down, this super reputable,
because they were selling fake artwork,
they sold about $80 million worth of fake art. And this is from a legit, one of the biggest, most established galleries
auction
in
houses.
New York, and they end up there's like the Knoedler Gallery. So this is essentially like one of the Sotheby's of New York. If the Sotheby's of New York can fall for, can be susceptible to selling fake art, like what hope is there really?
It is built on a system of trust, or a trustless system. That's why it works in the first place, because it's a trustless system.
It's hardwired for it. Like, you don't need to trust a human being. It does it automatically, and it can't. And because of the blockchain, you can't go back and change it. You can't. It can't be changed because it's all on the blockchain. If you're trying to figure out who owns this, who sold this to who, you can, or who made this piece of artwork, you can go on the blockchain and see exactly who made it. You can't say that, oh, actually I own it. You don't own it. Like, still, I checked on the blockchain. You don't own it.
Basically, it removes any kind of doubt or dispute. Because it's if it's like with code, it's very black and white. You can't once it's on the blockchain, it can't be changed. It can't. So it's not like. So that's kind of the beauty of it as well.
Because like if you watch that Netflix documentary, the way they prove the authenticity of a piece of artwork, it's called the provenance, and it's basically just like a document, like a piece of paper.
It's basically like a checklist.
A piece of paper that comes from the studio of the artist. So you gotta trust that this piece of paper comes from the studio of the artist. 2, you gotta trust that all the owners, everything on that document is real. There's so many things that so many conditions had to be fulfilled, and so many conditions that have to be accepted based purely on your trust of this other person, of this document. Whereas with the blockchain, you don't have to trust anyone. It just does it automatically. You're not trusting a human being. It's lines of code. It's
like, a good way to think of it is that the code is the law. Meaning that whatever the code was set for that particular thing to do, it will do it. Whether you asked it to or not, whether and it can't be changed. So it's good in the sense of, like, where we're talking about your first example, is that at each step the trust gets diluted further and further and further.
Exactly. In the traditional world, the trust gets diluted further and further every step. Whereas with the blockchain, the trust and the authenticity and the security stays the same throughout. And I mean, it's a well documented fact that artwork gets faked all the time. The more valuable, the more prized the artist is, the more likely the artwork is fake. We've gone through all the questions. I think we've covered a lot there, actually. A lot of great stuff, I think. Obviously, this is still very superficial. We haven't really gone into great depth on anything, but I'm assuming if you made it to the end, you're still very interested in either NFTs or investing in crypto. What sort of routine should they sort of adopt?
I think first and foremost is that most people, I mean, including myself, is that we got attracted to kind of the space for NFTs because because you hear from other people that it's such a lucrative thing. You can make tons of money and everything. So my advice that I would have given to myself when I first started is making money and price of things. Yes, it's important, but if you really want to understand the space, that you try to read into it more. Forget about price. Price is one metric, but to understand the fundamentals behind it, why people are so excited about NFTs, and how it could potentially change how we do business, how we do things in the future. Once we truly understand how it works, how we understand, and we truly understand its value proposition, then you can make your own. You can decide of what areas that you want to go into, even within NFTs, whether it's a gaming space, whether it's a music space, whether it's it's because don't go into it thinking that I'm going to make tons of money, because it's normally the latter, where the greediest tend to lose a lot of their money and they cannot sustain themselves in this space, and they basically get put off by it and say, okay, crypto's a scam because I've lost all my money.
Yeah, so
and then they get out of it.
So to simplify that is like, if you find a project, make sure that really understand what that project is trying to do in the long term, rather than looking at its price, seeing, as they call, the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals of this project? What is the service that they're doing? Does this good that they're providing, does it have legs? So for example, just a really simple example, is there's one project you're involved in, D-Travel, right? You got just trying to give like a an example that people can grasp. Is there's a new project called D-Travel, and we've got coin, we've bought a bit of it ourselves, both of us, and essentially they are Airbnb but on the blockchain.
Basically a decentralized Airbnb.
So I mean, that's from there you can see, okay, we've seen Airbnb, like, they're people like Airbnb, they've done really, really well. Don't buy into a project based on price. Don't buy if you see a price, because the likelihood is that it will drop back down in price at some point. But what you need to look at is its fundamentals. What is its core value? What is its value proposition? What are they offering the world? How are they what goods and service are they going to provide that's going to change the lives of other people? And if you buy into their vision and if you can see what they're doing, then you won't care about the price, because you know that over time it will, the value is going to go up just because it has that inherent value because of its goods and service. Okay, lastly, as I promised, Im, how well are you doing? How much money have you made? You don't have to give an exact figure, but the people want to know. You've been talking all this stuff. You've been talking the game.
I live a very
your smile.
I live a pretty conservative life. I'm just looking to make enough so I can live comfortably, sustain my life, and that's all I can ask for. And it's I don't know what to say without giving too much away. You know what I mean?
Are you making more than twice than what you made with your last job?
Oh yeah.
More than 3 times?
Yeah. Okay. I'm probably making around 10 times more than my
Okay.
full-time job.
There we go. That's what people want to do.
Yeah.
All right. But also that's not through sheer dumb luck. I mean, it's like it's luck and preparation, isn't it? Like it took time to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it takes a lot. Like I spend most of my time doing a lot of research, a lot of reading.
And you did lose money along the way to get there, right?
Oh yes, I've lost more money than I've ever lost before.
And you made
to get here. So it's not. So it's it's always common to hear people who have found success in the space where they've made X amount of money, but like with everyone's journey, it is not a linear progression. It's very much has its ups and downs, and when things are bad, things can get pretty bad, so you have to be mentally quite strong as well to kind of handle the volatilities.
So right now you're just basically living off of the dividends, shall we say? So you're mainly an investor, and then
investor
and trading.
When I first started, I was more towards trading, but as time has gone on, I've kind of changed my strategy, and because trading is very high risk. Yes, it is. It can be profitable if you know what you're doing, but at the same time, it's incredibly high risk in a very high risk space as it is. So it's all about mitigating your risk, being sustainable, because I'm here to stay in the space, long term.
Is it is it too late to get involved?
It's never too late to get involved. That's a very common question that people ask about crypto in the space. It is never ever too late to get involved. Whether you're not too keen on cryptocurrencies, but you really like NFTs, or you really like whether it's music or sports, you don't
find
have
a project
to be interested in crypto in order to get in. Whether it's your favorite football club, whether it's your favorite artist, whether it's your favorite game, whether it's your favorite whatever, like the whole idea of mass adoption is that people getting into the space don't even know they're getting into crypto. That's the point where we will be at when mass adoption comes. People don't even realize they're getting into crypto. That's where we want to be getting into, eventually. So
all right, I think that's a good point to leave it at. Thank you for joining us. And if you guys want to hear more of this stuff, you want to hear us talk about crypto and then fees more, then just drop us a question and maybe we can make a video about it. Thank you for joining us, Im. And
no problem.
And thank you for listening and watching, guys. Follow me at Zain Reads a Photo. Subscribe if you have not already. And with all that's said and done, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.